episode of The Chiefs. Well, welcome to this weekend edition of The Chiefs. Finally, some sun after the past 2 days of rain. With us tonight, of course, is Anamari Pamintuan of the Philippine Star from the
Good
port
evening.
area in Manila. Ami, good evening and
Oo nga.
happy weekend.
Happy weekend.
Happy weekend
Happy
talaga, di
na,
ba?
araw na.
Wait, before we go to our guest, what's your headline for tomorrow?
Syempre, hindi ba merong saying, mud, glorious mud. Ito talaga, terrible mud, kawawa naman yung mga tao sa Marikina, saka dun sa mga tinamaan ng landslide.
Mm-hmm.
Kaya ngayon, naghahanap pa ng mga ang hirap-hirap ng buhay sa Marikina, kawawa naman si Mayor Chodoro. State of calamity na dun sa Marikina, puro putek.
And interestingly, at least if you compare Ondoy with the last typhoon, yung Ulysses,
Yes.
the water dumped into Metro Manila mas kaunti with Ulysses compared to Ondoy. Pero ang taas ngayon. Apparently kasi ang daming tubig na dinump ng Ulysses doon sa bundok above
Yes.
Marikina.
O yun na nga sabi nila, bumagsak daw. Saka yung putik na yan, hindi ko natatanda na ganyang katindi yung problema sa putik during Ondoy, di ba? Ngayon, Diyos ko, yung mga kalye-kalye, hindi ka na makadaan hanggang tuhod na yung putik, adult tuhod. Kawawa naman, paano yun? Hirap-hirap. Lalo nang dadami yung mga sakit dyan, yung leptospirosis, lahat na ng mikrobyo makukuha mo dyan.
Hindi
Diba?
mo masabi alipunga eh.
Hindi, that's also a problem, ha? Hindi, mahirap gamutin yun eh. Diba?
Yeah. But you know, the amount of mud that flowed down Marikina River is a certain sign of heavy siltation.
Yes.
Ibig sabihin, erosion upstream.
Erosion and siltation. Oo.
So
Saka yun
that does tell you a lot.
Yes. Saka yung mud nga, di ba? Pampadagdag pa yan sa problema. May tubig ka na, meron kang stagnant water, tapos wala pang tubig maraming lugar. Nagwa-warning nga si Health Secretary Duque na yung mga sakit sa evacuation center pa lang ang dami na niyang warning So, kahit ganitong tapos na yung bagyo, eto balik na naman tayo kay COVID, which has been aggravated by the impact of the typhoon, the floods, and the mud.
Mm-hmm.
So, balik pa rin tayo sa COVID at yung mga problema, yung mga comorbidities, lalo na yung mga taong comorbidities such as diabetes. Kaya maganda yung ating guest ngayon, di ba?
Okay, we shall of course talk about COVID-19, pero with the direction of diabetes, Amanda, the problem complications between diabetes and COVID-19. And also we have this as a topic tonight because tomorrow is World Diabetes Day.
World Diabetes Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so for our first guest for tonight, we have Dr. Aurora Macaballug from the Philippine Society of Endocrinology, Diabetes, and Metabolism. She is also the chairperson of the advocacy committee of that society. Doc Aurora, thank you for joining us tonight.
Magandang gabi po to everyone. Thanks for having me, Mr. Ed, Ma'am Ami. Magandang gabi po.
Good evening, Doctor.
Well, Doc, of course, we want to talk about diabetes and COVID-19. Pero let's lay some baselines first. Let's establish first what you need to know about diabetes. Kasi to tell you frankly, a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about diabetes. And it's born from the fact na from an early age, for example ako, sasabihan ka na huwag kang kumain ng masyadong maraming asukal kasi magkaka-diabetis ka. So, correlate sa mga tao yung ingest mo ng sugar, whether in candy o yung asukal mo sa kape, dun sa pagkakaroon ng diabetes later on in life. So there are things like that. So let's lay the baseline first. What exactly is diabetes? We do know that it's a failure of the body to process glucose, sugar in the bloodstream and turn it to energy. Pero in very real and practical terms, exactly what is it?
Diabetes is literally a high blood sugar. So it's we have high levels of sugar in the blood. And this is a chronic disease. This is not a disease that is treated in 1 month, 2 months. No, this is a chronic one. So this stays with the
It stays.
person for life once he gets it. Yes. And generally, this is an interplay between genetics and environment, especially the lifestyle. So, as you said earlier, eating sweets at early on in life, that is because that may predispose a person to having diabetes later on because that is an early practice of a bad lifestyle. That's the reason for
Oh, it
it.
predisposes talaga. Akala ko ito sa
Yeah.
myth. So may
Hindi
may
ka
meron
pwedeng
palang sense talaga
kumain,
ito.
Edna. Ang matandis.
But remember, no, not everyone naman who eats sweets will have diabetes. It's just that if you have it early on in life, if you keep on eating the bad food, sweets, for example, that is a route already for having the unhealthy lifestyle, which may contribute to the development of diabetes later on in life.
Mhm. Pero Doc, bakit ano, what's the connection between diabetes, yung high sugar content in your blood and, for example, having problems with your wounds not healing, alam mo yun, yung gangrene in the foot,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so on down the line. What's the connection there?
Well, actually, with people with diabetes, no, they have a problem with wound healing. There are a lot of factors. So, parang yung sinasabi natin, the soldiers that fight off diabetes in the blood, they're not very efficient. So, fighting off the microbes, the bacteria, may not be as efficient in people with diabetes compared to those who do not have diabetes. So in all infections, so that's the reason why diabetes is, or people with diabetes is more predisposed to having wounds, infection, because their ability to fight off a disease may not be as efficient as those without the diabetes.
Doctor, I'm intrigued by this detail, no, that diabetes is the second most common
Mm-mm.
comorbidity in COVID patients. Saan po
Mm-mm.
nakabase ito? Are you monitoring this nationwide? Or is
Yes,
this
we
global?
We do have a local report, and they have been studying the characteristics of patients with COVID 19 in our country. But that data has already been presented early on in the pandemic. As early as January, there were reports coming from China, of course, because they are the ones who reported the case early in the pandemic. So the data that we commonly see, like this one, with the diabetes being the second and one of those diseases that are most common comorbidity in COVID-19. So doon natin nakuha yun. But we do have data now. And yes, diabetes is very common in patients with COVID-19.
Ano yung number one? Heart problem?
Yes, hypertension, comes obesity, yes.
Okay, I don't want to sound morbid, kaya lang, is it also a big factor in the fatalities from COVID?
Okay, that's a good question, ma'am. Actually, that's a favorite question of my patients to me. Doktora, may diabetes ako, magkaka-COVID ba ako? Well, as I said, as a baseline, people with diabetes can get any infection. Okay, more prone sila than those without diabetes. However, if their blood sugar is controlled, then the outcome, or what we call the prognosis, even for COVID-19, is favorable. So you will see that yung death rate for those with diabetes is favorable for those who have controlled diabetes compared to those who have uncontrolled diabetes. So it's very important really to emphasize that they have to control their diabetes.
Doc, you
Okay.
make a distinction between controlled and uncontrolled diabetes. Exactly how is that distinction made, and who is which?
Okay, so generally when we talk about control, we talk about numbers, okay? So we have the blood glucoses, we have the HbA1c, so we have certain levels. If we are going to be technical about it, so we have a 3-month average blood sugar, and that's what we call the HbA1c, or the glycosylated hemoglobin. So in layman's term, no, so ito yung gaano kataas yung sugar na nakakapit sa red blood cells, because the lifespan of a red blood cell is around 3 months. So yun yung kinukuhang average. So when we say average, the controlled level would be 7% and below. So that's in the general population. Yung mga bata, we aim for 6.5, and closer to normal as possible. Now, for those who are just monitoring, no, if you have a capillary blood glucose, yung glucometer sa bahay, if you're using that, and you get a fasting or pre-meal blood sugar that is generally between 80 and 130, you're good. Okay? Kung nakakain ka na and your blood sugar, you get your blood sugar at 140 to 180 milligrams per deciliter, and then you're good. So that will give you a good gauge, oh, okay ako. So mas maganda. Then the next time you see your doctor, you will be more confident na maganda yung papakita mong result kay doctor. And most likely, sasabihin ni doctor sa'yo, you are controlled. Okay? So also for the symptoms, so walang symptoms, walang mga sugat, no comorbidities, this will be the patients with diabetes who have controlled levels of blood sugar.
Doc, once you get diabetes, hindi na siya matatanggal, ano? And it could only get worse, di ba? But
yes,
there are
ma'am.
certain lifestyle changes that you can do para nga maging controlled siya. Ano ba yon? Apart from, of course, cutting down on sugar consumption, ano pang pwedeng gawin ng mga tao?
That's true. No? So the good thing about diabetes is it's controllable. Okay? We keep on saying it's chronic, but we can always control it, especially if the patient is proactive. So good diet, not just the sweets, anything that is too much. Remember what we eat, whether this is protein, this is fat, these are most likely going to be degraded into sugar because the sugar is the fuel of the body. So if we eat a lot of any food, not just the sweets, okay, that will be an extra calorie for the body. And if we don't burn it, you doing exercise, so yun pa yung isang what they can do. They have to do regular exercises. So, and then choose, hindi lang yung quantity of the food. Minsan, it looks so small, but the calorie is too high. So it has to be both the quantity and the quality. And of course, good sleep. I cannot overemphasize the role of stress. No, if you are puyat, then that's also stress to the body, and that can also bring up your blood sugar. So all these things have to be done, even when you're at home.
You don't have to eschew naman completely sweets, ano? Kasi you are controlling the sugar level, di ba? You can still control
for diabetics, ma'am. Yes, for people with diabetes, of course, we try to tell them avoid sweets kasi these sweets will actually make the blood sugar spike very fast. Especially pastries, ice cream, anything that's sweet. Pagpasok niyan sa katawan, they're easily absorbable. So the spike will be immediate. Now, it's different when we talk about carbohydrate. Okay? When we talk about carbohydrate, that's a macronutrient kasi. And not all carbohydrates are bad. So there are complex ones, mga complex sugars natin, those are better kasi less ang degradation or mas mabagal. Okay? And then we have the fibers as well. So with sweets, yes ma'am, we have the people with diabetes really have to avoid it kasi mabilis ang spike ng blood sugar doon.
Yung staple natin, white rice specifically, nakakataas ba siya talaga?
Yes.
Nakakataas. So if you have
yes.
Okay lang. How about brown or red or black or violet rice? May pagkakaiba ba?
Okay. Yes. So generally, ang ano natin, laging ang basis of comparison will be a cup of white rice. Okay? Remember, white rice is polished. So they have already removed yung ipa or yung part where the fiber is. So when we take that in, we easily burn it. Okay? So the calorie that we get from the rice is not sustainable, not long enough. Because we easily degrade it, we easily absorb it, and the energy is so short. Compared, for example, to the brown, to the red, there's violet, and there's black. The more colorful it is, the higher will be the fiber content. Okay? Now, the fiber content will be the one that makes these grains less absorbable. Okay? So, mas sustained yung kanyang energy that we get from it, and the patient does not get too hungry immediately. compared to eating the white rice. Okay? So if you're just going to look at the calorie content of the 1 cup ng white, 1 cup ng brown versus the 1 cup ng red, hindi naman sila nagkakalayo. But the fiber content, the minerals, the vitamins they contain are higher in the more colored rice compared to the white.
It's
Yung
it's
mga
good that you
special
pointed out.
grains, yung
Sige po,
quinoa, yung
Mhm.
lentils, hindi
Yes.
siya ano. Pero yung mga ganong pagkain, yung mga health food, ano yun?
They're good actually kasi mataas din po ang fiber content ng mga yon. Again, sa quinoa nga po, there's even a comparison between the white quinoa, the colored quinoa. Generally, the more colored ones are the higher grains for fiber and my vitamins and minerals. Okay.
Well, Doc, I think it's good that you pointed out na kasi most people tend to think na sugar is sugar and food is something else.
Right.
But basically, most of what you eat is broken down into sugars.
Correct.
Diba?
Correct.
If I remember my biology correctly, diba? They're mostly broken down into sugars, and that's what also we're referring to. Not
Tama
just
po.
sugar from sugar, but sugar from everything else that you eat. For example,
Yes.
rice,
Right.
and so on down the line.
And that's what also the reason why we have to remind everyone that we cannot just change our meal, which is supposed to be a balanced, complete meal. It should change natin into full fruits. Okay? Hindi rin ganun yon because the fruits also contain sugar, different kind of sugar, but they're also sugar in there. Kaya sila nilalanggam. So the idea is to have a balance, a complete meal.
Okay. Doctor, mga doctors ngayon actually naka-lockdown din kayo, no? How are you consulting with your patients now? Nagte-telemedicine na rin ba? How widespread
Yes.
is it now?
Early on, I think when we lifted the quarantine, the first one we had, we already resumed clinic, pero not 100% capacity because even the hospitals po, we all have shifted to by appointment basis so that we make sure that the patients will not be too many at any given time. So we have to protect them with the distancing and all. And before that, as early as March, latter part of March or early April, doctors have already ventured into telemedicine so that the patients can reach them and reach us, and we have a way of keeping track of the patients as well.
Oh, ayan pala. So how extensive is it now? Ano ba halimbawa kung may ko-contact sa inyong kung may ko-contact sa inyong pasyente, anong sasabihin nyo? Sino yung a-advise nyo na mag-telemedicine na lang tayo?
Okay. That's a good point, ma'am, no? Kasi not all patients are candidate for telemedicine. Okay? Remember, telemedicine is just, we do physical exam by vision, touching, mga ganon. But with telemedicine, what we can only do is visual examination for the patient. So hindi po namin mahahawakan ng pasyente. And we cannot auscultate, we cannot listen to the lungs, we cannot listen to the heartbeat, we cannot palpate. So what we can only do is visual examination. So this will be the relatively stable patients. Okay? Once the patient says, oh, may masakit sa tiyan ko, doctor, may sugat ako, which would entail a deeper examination, then the patient really has to come back to us, to our clinics. But for those na yung magpapakita po ng prescription, okay, for us, for endocrinologists, our patients most likely will come to us for diabetes just to check kung controlled na ba or hindi. So if they have their blood test results, their blood glucose monitorings at home, their blood pressure monitorings at home, yung mga nalalag nila. So we can see them via telemedicine.
Pero is there a growing interest now sa telemedicine? Kasi the COVID threat is still, I think it will persist for a couple more months. Is it gaining ground, telemedicine?
Yes, I think so. In other parts of the world, actually, telemedicine has always been part of their practice. That's because they have a strong community team, no? So they have pharmacists in the community, nurses in the community, which sa atin medyo limited. But now the platforms for telemedicine even has grown in number. So before there were only a few players in the telemedicine platform, and now we have a lot. Even Facebook, for example, has expanded in its role to cater to this platform. So yes, it has gained ground, and it has been a very powerful and helpful tool for medicine, for us doctors to reach out to our patients.
Doc, what is this?
Sige, sige,
Go ahead. What is this concept of patient adherence? Exactly what does it mean, and what exactly is it that you're talking about?
Okay.
When you say patient adherence.
Okay, adherence po is how the patient follows what we talked about regarding his or her treatment during our consultation. So it is from the medications, from the diet, the exercise, what he or she should do and should not do. That is really how the patient follows this through. And with the adherence, it's connecting to the plan. Okay, so the plan of management, which of course we discuss with the patient has a say on the management of his or her diabetes, for example, its condition. So what we talked about our plan, so the patient has to follow that even when they're not seeing their doctors. So that's adherence. It's actually sticking it to the plan
Sumunod sa kasunduan.
treatment. Yes, ganun po.
In other words, sumunod kayo sa kasunduan nating dalawa, parang gano'n.
Yes, but of course, this is adherence. No, this is not just compliance. Compliance po kasi means they just comply. They will just follow it, whether or not they agree with it. So better is the adherence, and we always teach or remind our patients that na kahit wala si doktor, gagawin niya yung part niya. Tama po kayo, yung kanya pong commitment doon sa part that he agreed on.
Ma'am, ngayong quarantine, dumadami yung mga tawag nating mga plantito and plantita, no? And even before the pandemic, there was a lot of interest on a plant called insulin plant, na para daw sa mga matataas ang blood sugar.
Yes.
Anong research nyo? Is there any solid research on the efficacy of this plant? It's a herbal treatment. So, meron naman tayong ganong development for those plants, ano? Pero backed up ba siya ng science at this point?
At this time, there are still no large-scale study on the insulin plant. There are some small studies, and the results are varied. And even the population may be different from one study to another. So the conclusion may not still be very robust for us to pick it up for clinical use. Again, there is no parang yung large scale. So we have, when we develop something, parang meron siyang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stages for clinical development. So it hasn't reached that yet. So wala pa yung, when we say Phase 3, for example, the population will be for people. It's a prospective one. So wala siyang large-scale study yet for that. There are a few reports of its benefits, but again, the results differ from one study to another.
How about ampalaya? Kasi si Gary Valenciano, others sabi nila nakakababa daw talaga ng blood sugar, yung leaves. Ginagawan tea. Tama ba yun?
Yes, there is a report for ampalaya. The one that has a good study is actually the ampalaya. That's a variety in Laguna, the makiling variety. So it has a good study. At yung ginamit po doon is the sprout, yung talbos. Not just the leaf, okay, not the fruit, but really the talbos. Opo. So yun palang yung magandang study of the ampalaya. But if we are going to look at the molecule of ampalaya, it really has a property that can be compared to a class of drug for diabetes, and we call it sulfonylurea. So may ganun po siyang property. But again, if this was studied in a large scale, hindi pa po ganun, but except for the makiling, it's just a molecule. So yung pa lang po yung tinignan. Hindi pa po yun talagang broadly nabigay for all diabetics for a study.
Mhm.
Well, Doc,
Ma'am,
we started on that rin na ituloy na po natin ano pa yung mga common conceptions and or misconceptions about diabetes. Talk to us about that. Ano yung dapat paniwalaan, ano dapat hindi paniwalaan, o dapat pag-ingatan pagdating sa paniniwala ng mga tao sa
Okay.
diabetes?
Okay, number one po, I would like to remind everyone that not because wala kayong nararamdaman, wala kayong diabetes. That's a very common misconception. And then when I tell a patient, for example, may diabetes ka, the patient would start saying, pero gumaganda naman po ang sugat ko, wala akong nararamdaman. We have to remember that with diabetes, actually common po yung asymptomatic o yung wala pong nararamdaman. Kasi pag may naramdaman na silang symptoms, it just goes to say na mataas na talaga yung sugar. So that's one misconception that I would like to correct, that even if you don't have a symptom, you don't have diabetes. No? So yung mga ganun po. Or nawawala ang diabetes, wala na akong nararamdaman, so di na ako inom ng gamot. As I said earlier, this is a chronic disease. It stays with us. You stop the diet, you stop the exercise, the diabetes or the blood sugar will just go up.
Ma'am, anong activities naka-line up for World Diabetes Day?
Okay, unahin ko na po yung for the Philippine Society of Diabetes Endocrinology and Metabolism. So we are going to have a lay forum on November 17 at 2 o'clock that will be live streamed through Facebook on our account. And this is in collaboration with the Philippine College of Physicians. So we are going to send out invitations for that, so anybody can join us. So we have already also pocket activities for the training institutions that we have. We have 9 training institutions, so from different hospitals, and all these hospitals will have their own activities with their diabetes clubs. So we will put up a calendar for it. So for us, it will be November 17 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon po.
Okay, Dr. Aurora Macaballug from the Philippine Society of Endocrinology, Diabetes, and Metabolism. Doc, salamat po for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Doctor.
Maraming pong salamat, ma'am, sir. Thank you, everyone, for having me tonight. Magandang gabi po.
And eat healthy. Avoid sugars.
Yes.
Hirap na. Sige, Doc.
Salamat po sa inyo.
Okay. Akala ko pa naman.
Hindi ka makakakain ng matamis eh.
Oo nga eh. Di ba? Tanda na ako. Sige, okay. We'll just go into a gap, so please stay with us.
Welcome back to the Chiefs. We're now in the final stage of our conversation. And now joining us is Valenzuela 1st District Representative Wes Gatchalian. Congressman, good evening. Welcome to the Chiefs.
Hi.
Hi.
Good,
Oh, nag-break.
and
Nako.
good evening and good
Yes, sir.
evening
Good evening po.
Okay.
to all.
Malinaw po, naririnig niyo po kami, Congressman.
Yes po, ma'am. Narinig ko
Okay,
namin
I
po.
think
Okay,
it's improving.
Congressman Gatchalian, he's the chairman of the House Committee on Trade and Industry. They're conducting a probe on illegal activities ngayon online.
Online fraud.
Ngayon, yeah, it's growing, naku, exponentially. Siguro,
Something very close to all our hearts eh, yung
I
online
know.
transactions.
eto. Siguro yung why don't you tell us muna yung findings so far, yung pinaka-latest sa mga probes ninyo, Congressman. Nawala yata siya. Kaya si Ed pa naman, napakahilig mag-online transaction.
Walang ganyanan.
Dapat ikaw ang magkwento kung ano. Teka, mag-reconnect lang si Congressman.
Yeah.
But we have
Yeah.
a story coming out about yun nga isa pang scam na naman yung sa car registration. It's actually a privacy breach. Nag-issue ng CDO, cease and desist order, ang National Privacy Commission on this website na nangolekta ng mga information on car registration at hindi naman pala siya konektado with the Land Transportation Office. Yun yung pinaka-latest ngayon.
Okay.
Ewan ko kung na-cover na yan nila Congressman Gatchalian, no?
Yeah. Well, we're bringing in Congressman Gatchalian specifically because he has a bill, House Bill 6122, or the Internet Transactions Bill. Now, we were talking a while ago na this is I suppose an issue that's close to a lot of people's hearts these days, especially kasi most transactions now are done online to avoid the problem of COVID-19. There's Congressman Gatchalian. Sir, thank you for coming back.
Yes, sorry, naputol ako kanina. Good evening, Ed and Amy.
Yung latest lang po sa because you filed the bill nga, sabi nga ni Ed, you filed the bill nga to regulate online transactions. Ito pong si Ed, sinasabi ko na sa inyo ay napakalaking customer ng online sites. But anyway, anong pinaka-salient points na gusto nyong ipaalala ngayon sa mga tao based on what you have learned?
Yes. Well, Amy, we had the Committee on Trade and Industry had a series of hearings already before. But last week we did another one and nakakagulat ho yung data na nakita namin. No? First of all, I asked DTI to once again report to the committee, the update. No? And in 2099, there were 2,457 complaints received by DTI. And now, from January to October, during the pandemic and after the pandemic, post-pandemic, there was already 14,869 complaints being filed in DTI. That's around 600% increase, no? So this is the reason why I called for another congressional investigation to what happened and what are the needs of the government and the government agencies in order to resolve all of these cases. Kasi ang sabi ng DTI, around 1,543 pa lang ang na-resolve out of 14,869.
These are mostly complaints on product quality, no? But you are also investigating the use of online transactions for illegal products, drugs, mga contraband. Di ba meron din ganon?
Yes, well, ang lumabas po sa hearing namin last week, ang top 3 po complaints in DTI is violation of the Price Act, defective products, and number 3 deceptive and unfair sales practice. But I also invited the PNP Cybercrime, PNP CIDG, at PIDEA, at nagulat na lang ako sa narinig ko na there are 877 reports pala of complaints in PIDEA linking to drugs which are either sold through the delivery service online or sold online, no? So right now we can see na not only we are facing the issues on consumer protection, but nangyari na rin po na there are drug-related issues dito. And in fact during the hearing, siguro hindi ko na lang papangalanan pa, but this very famous website, malaking website, ay doon mismo in our research of my own legislative team, we saw na mga drug paraphernalia pala ay being sold and posted online. And they were, well, ang sabi nila na hindi nila alam ito, but they were apologetic and they will take actions kaagad on this matter.
Kong, I think that's interesting. What drug paraphernalia is being sold on? You're talking about? Are you talking about an online a popular online store?
Yes.
Paraphernalia?
Yes. It's a very big online platform which is madalas nagkaka-sale, and in fact may sale sila lately. Okay. And then there's a pipe, and obviously it's used for other means naman, smoking, etc., maybe legal means. But ang aking pinunaho doon I saw a picture of a marijuana leaf. And sabi ko, kung ito po ay nakita ng mga kabataan natin, ay ito po ay pwedeng maging iba po ang meaning nito. And there was also marijuana gummies, there was also hemp oil, there was a variety of things that our legislative team saw. Kaya nakakagulat po.
Excuse me, these are being sold in the Philippines, so baka naman sa US products?
Hindi po. This was sold in the Philippines and the platform admitted, and in fact, the pricing was in peso.
Oh my goodness.
And a lot of these are, kung hindi local, they're China eh. They source a lot of retailers from China as well eh. Pero kung along those lines kasi, I think that's very interesting eh na you talk about drug paraphernalia. But on the other hand kasi, when you say drug paraphernalia, you're talking about items that can have multiple uses eh. Like for example, what they call the shisha, yung the water pipe.
Yes.
That's commonly perceived to be used for drugs. In the Middle East, that's called the nargila or the hookah, and the Middle East is a place where drugs are really banned, and that people get death penalty. So it's used for tobacco mixed with molasses, and it's multiple use. You can use it for legal means.
Alam ni Ed, nakita niya.
Kasi I brought home a couple of nargilas from Iraq when I went there because it's legal, and it depends on you what you use it for. So you may have multiple uses for multiple things. Eh. The same goes, for example, with the aluminum foil. In a raid, a drug agent will say that that's drug paraphernalia. But if you go to your common kitchen, it's all over the place, di ba? So you may have some kailangan paghihimay, some distinctions there as to what is to be regulated.
Well, I agreed on that. That's why I didn't directly discuss about the drugs, because my committee is more focused on the consumer protection. But I just gave them a warning because there was a sign there of a marijuana leaf that this may connote another thing to the youth. And ang nakakatakot yan, Amy and Ed, ang mga kabataan ngayon, without their parents knowing, they could just go to the internet and have it delivered in their doorstep anytime, no? So this is the reason why this is one of the main points of my bill, House Bill 6122, or the Internet Transaction Act, is to compel the online platforms to ensure the safety of our consumers. I want them to be vigilant. I want them, kasi ang mga nagre-register na retailers, ang step 1 naman, dadaan sa kanila eh. No, they will be the one approving if binebenta dito ay marijuana related or other paraphernalia. So I want them to give prudence and take responsibility in the items being sold on the online platform. But just to add to that, Ed, yan po is on the side lang. The main item that medyo nagulat ako in my committee is on January 8 and January 27, 3.6 kilo of marijuana was caught by PDEA through this online platform again.
Really?
So the online
there?
no, they were not selling. Dumaan. So I guess pinasok sa in order nila na item. We do not know na kung ito ba yung pinasok na logistics company o pinasok ng seller. So when I asked naman the platform, they said nga na hindi naman nila, they don't have the right to open packages. Yes. From the sellers to the buyer, ang job lang nila is to deliver that item. So then again, doon po pumapasok ang question, paano natin tutulungan ng gobyerno? Ito, 3.6 kilo ng marijuana ho ay dumaan sa PDEA. And the PDEA asked their assistance, and then doon pa lang po pumasok at tinurn over nila yung 3.6 kilo ng marijuana. So meaning the 3.6 kilo of marijuana was in their possession. So dito natin pinapasok itong bill natin, Amy at Ed, na I guess the online platform should be held liable also pag may mga cases na nangyari na ganito, no? In August, another news agency reported na may pinadeliver na gamit online, no? At pag-deliver po, buti the driver was responsible enough. Pagbukas I think clothing, pero pagbukas naman puro shabu yung laman sa loob ng sanitary napkin. Buti na lang po na intercept ng driver nung said online company.
No, I was going to ask you about that. Ano yung reaction ng mga platforms? Kasi parang napakahirap yatang tignan bawat isa ng mga binibenta nila na pinapost lang naman dun sa kanilang platform. Mahirap yata yung kontrolin yung yung supply chain. Ano yung mechanics doon? Paano kaya siyang magiging effective yung regulation?
Well, Amy, you're right. And yun din actually yung sagot nila. And in fact, I visited their plant physically, I think 2 months ago, just to see nga kung totoo yung sinasabi nila. And in my opinion naman, totoo ho, no? Because they've been receiving 300 to 500,000 packages a day. So it's quite impossible, no? But then again, it's not the reason, Amy, eh. So, ibig sabihin na lang natin, palusutin na lang natin pala kung may drugs pala na dumaan dito at let the PDEA catch it. Paano ho pag hindi nahuli ng PDEA? So, kumalat na po ito sa ating merkado, no? Sa mga kabataan at sa communities natin. So, what we wanted is, since I proposed to them during the hearing, they have the technology, they have the system, they have advanced equipments more than our government. So, I want to compel them to take responsibility kung sakali man lang naman na may mag-complain at may kumaso, no? Kung wala naman nag-complain, walang kumaso, wala naman nahuli po ang PNP cybercrime, it means it's a legitimate process, no? But in the case po na meron pong may mag-complain at ito po na intercept, sino po ang mananagot? Yung seller na yun po nasa platform nila eh. So this is where my bill comes in. I want sana, hopefully, no? I'm hoping na we would joint and solidarily connect the merchants and the online platform. Because at the end of the day, you should be responsible because that's your platform, no? You have an image to protect, you have a name to protect, and you make money out of the Filipino people.
Mhm. Kong, well, let me get down to the more basic things. Ano ba yung relationship ng online platform with the retailers? I mean, as far as approvals are concerned, of course, the platform approves kung sinong retailer ang sasama sa platform nila, di ba? Pero does the online platform also approve each and every item that the retailer sells on the platform? Kasi that might be a different thing altogether eh. Baka mamaya, they don't necessarily approve each and every item sold on their platform. Basta lang na-approve yung retailer as a seller, di okay na yun. So, doon walang control.
So yes, the online merchants, kasi there are two types, no? There are websites, hindi ko naman sinasabi lang yung malalaking known website. Marami rin dyan maliliit eh. So there are websites na they get online merchants registers in their company, and that online merchants quantity, no? Ang nangyayari, quantity dito, hindi quality eh. Tanggap lang sila ng tanggap ng mga merchants para marami pong produktong maibenta. But there are companies na own product nila, and there are companies na hybrid, both of them. You know, some 50% are their own items being sold, mostly coming from China. 50% are from online merchants. And these online merchants, hindi naman ang gobyerno ang nagre-regulate eh, kasi wala tayong batas eh. Sila ang nagre-regulate. So they're becoming a self-regulating body, not the government of the Philippines, no? So they're the one who registers, they're the one who approves. And doon sa item na yan, I think they should be prudent enough to know na yung ina-approve nila na merchant is selling drug paraphernalia or is selling weapons already or is selling vitamins that are not FDA approved. So if my point in this bill is I want them to take responsibility so they can help our government. Hindi ho yung may namatay na dahil doon po sa gamot or doon sa so-called vaccine ng COVID, bago tayo magte-take action pag may nag-report na pabalik. So the proactiveness of an online platform should start from step one.
Yun nga sir, I think it was a few months ago lang, people found out that one of these online platforms, as a retailer from on one of these online platforms was selling drugs na hindi dumaan ng FDA kasi diretso from China.
Yes.
Diretso from China, dadalhin dito, and then isi-ship na diretso doon sa so hindi na dumadaan ng FDA, which makes the FDA superfluous.
Yes. So ang marami ho nangyayari yun, Ed, doon parang sa research namin makikita na mga diet pills, sleeping pills, whatever, no? Ang tanong dito, ngayon po nakakalusot. Pero what if may isang mamatay dyan? Who will be liable? So is it the merchant that they approve? Is it the online platform? Saan pupunta yung consumer natin? Remember, we have consumer protection laws. And the consumer protection laws on the malls, on the brick and mortar stores, online merchants are included there. Hindi lang akalain ng tao yun, no? So at the end of the day, if you will do business in the Philippines, you have to follow all the laws and regulations of this country, whether you're online or offline. It just so happened ngayon with the advent of technology, talaga mabilis eh. By tonight, I can order slimming pills without FDA approved or a COVID medicine without FDA approved and drink it tomorrow. If hindi ko namatay, siguro okay yun. But if namatay ka, ano ang habol ng pamilya? So most of the time, hugas kamay itong online platform.
Yes, sir. But that brings me back to my first question kaya na yung platforms ba, do they have do they approve each and every item that is sold by by the retailers in their platform, or did they just approve the retailers the retailer? Kumbaga, kasi it boils down to accountability di ba? It boils down to accountability. Baka sabihin kasi mamaya ng online platform, we just approve the retailer on the retailer level, tapos bahala na sila kung anong gusto nila ibenta. So yun, magulo yun.
Yes,
yun, kasi
supposedly they should be approving both. And but ang question right now, who among the government side is regulating this? So this is the reason why I filed the Internet Transaction Act, is para to create what we call an e-commerce bureau under the Department of Trade and Industry. So lahat sila now, if you want to sell something online, you should register with the Department of Trade and Industry so that the government can help regulate in circumstances na may nangyari hong complaints like this. And likewise, the online platform, the government the e-commerce bureau should be regulating these online platforms.
Anong penalty are you proposing? May penal aspect ba yan? May imprisonment or a substantial fine, for example?
Well, wala naman pong criminal or imprisonment. If online merchants, sa online merchants po, 100% of the cost of that item plus forfeiture of that item. Pero sa online platform po, just a monetary penalty, not minimum of 500,000, maximum of 5 million, and what we call the takedown facility, meaning your website, your business will be taken down by the e-commerce bureau. Wala naman pong imprisonment. Yeah.
May nakuha na ba kayong report that vaccines for COVID are being sold online?
Kasi baka yun ang susunod.
Well, hindi naman po vaccines, but yung ayoko na lang i-name yung brand, but some Chinese medicine that supposedly
therapeutic.
Cure. Yeah, I know.
I think that's the story you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. Pero meron na rin daw kasi ngayon, two companies in China are actually distributing na daw to, Chinese citizens. Wala pa naman kayo na babalitaan na nakakarating na nun dito online.
Well, yung pinaka-famous na-approve na po ng FDA natin. So wala hong problema yan na ibenta online. But ang question is, doon sa mga hindi na-approve ng FDA Philippines, malay mo, na-approve naman yun ng FDA China, but since it will be consumed in the Philippines, dapat may FDA approval ng FDA Philippines. Yes. So yun po ay may proliferation pa rin even in the social media. Alam niyo naman po, sa times ng pandemic, talaga pong these are the good times wherein MSME can thrive, but these are also the times where syndicates and crimes can happen online. No? Na-abuse din ho ang internet transactions.
Are you also reaching out to the social media giants to assist in this regulation? Halimbawa, Facebook. Are you reaching out to them?
Yes, well, they are, Amy, they were invited in my hearing, and Facebook Marketplace in particular is included in this bill, but it's a different kind of business. Facebook Marketplace, Carousel, these are example of what we call classifieds business. Ang classified business, wala namang money in na pumapasok sa kanila. They are just a website merely linking a buyer and a seller.
Yes.
The money is left within the jurisdiction of the buyer and the seller. So as compared to the other online shops, Lazada, Shopee, Zalora, money is coming into them and they are the one releasing it to the merchants, no? So yes, the bill also includes the Facebook marketplace, wherein we want them to be responsible on the quality of sellers or merchants that are transacting inside their website.
Mhm. Pero sir, in the end, sir, kasi even if they're classifieds lang, which makes them quite different from the online platforms, to the consumer, pare-pareho lang sila eh. To the consumer, it still is the same thing na, ay, nakita ko sa internet, binili ko.
Yeah, it's a link.
Ay, naloko ako. To them, to the consumer, doesn't matter if it's the classifieds or to the online or the online platforms. So, my point is, ano eh, what can or should be done to protect consumers doon naman sa classifieds. If that's even possible,
Yes.
Well, it's almost the same. I treat them in this bill. Talagang pinag-aralan namin yan, different kinds of online businesses, no. Well, bottom line, it comes to the creation of the e-commerce bureau, a one-stop shop wherein consumers can file their complaints, and this e-commerce bureau will be the arbitrary body to fix all the issues. And if they cannot fix this issue, they can also be the government entity that can liaise with, for example, FDA, can liaise with PDEA or Intellectual Property Department. So they're the one who's responsible. So it boils down here na whatever kind of online platform you are, whatever kind of business model you are, you should follow and register your merchants, sellers, or members to the e-commerce bureau para kung may mangyari dito, may habol tayo. And just to add to that, Ed and Amy, part of the bill also includes the question of lahat naman itong kumpanya sa abroad are international company Netflix, Amazon, Lazada, Shopee, Facebook, they're all international companies. So what my bill, one of the provisions inside House Bill 6122 is to ask them to register in the Philippines. But we're not too strict on that. We gave them 3 options, no? It's either they set up shop here and have a physical office. If not naman, they just appoint a lawyer, a law firm, to receive complaints. And 3 is to partner with a local entity that could represent them here. Ang point here is, kung meron lang nagsumbong, meron lang complaints, dapat may representative sila na humarap. Kasi kadalasan po, help desk ito. I've done my research even on the small e-commerce sites. Wala kayong makakausap. Hugas kamay sila. You will just email a help desk. You will wait a reply. And me, I have my own experience, Amy at Ed, na yung complaint pa ay dadalihin pa sa US. At ang legal team nila magre-reply back. Kung ordinary Juan de la Cruz ka na bumili lang ng isang item worth 2,000 peso, most probably hahayaan mo na yan Hindi mo na itutuloy yan. Save you the hassle Pero this is consumer rights. This is the rights of consumers. We have to protect them. Whether maliit yung binili nilang item, 1,000 peso or 100,000.
So cover nyo rin yung mga payment platforms based overseas. Halimbawa, yung PayPal, mako-cover yan ng mga regulation ninyo din.
Yes, ma'am. It's covered. Even the food delivery is covered, and the
pati food delivery.
Yes, kasama sila. They were invited in the investigation kasi marami tayong mga drivers who went to me na mga naloko, may mga nag-order at hindi naman sumipot, peke pala yung buyer, no? At 10 silang driver naghihintay sa labas ng gate, no? So a lot of complaints was sent to my committee, and kaya minarapat na rin natin isama pati yung payment gateways po.
Well, I'm sure consumers will welcome that. Pero considering the state of the technology now, parang napakahirap nung balak nating pag-regulate, ano? Ano yung pinakamalaking problemang nakikita nyo in case na mapasa yung bill and we start implementing? Ano yung pinakamalaking hurdle in the implementation?
Well, marami no? But I think the pinakamalaki is these companies are usually international companies.
Yes.
Wherein nagkaka-question na of jurisdiction. For example, I recently read in Vietnam that they will be regulating na Netflix, no? So again, there's an issue of the laws being stepped on. They are an international company. They're using the internet as a medium. Dapat ba matax sila o hindi sila matax? Dapat ba i-regulate sila o hindi i-regulate? Ito po, they're in the internet world, but then again, the viewers are from Vietnam. The viewers are from the Philippines. And whatever censorship they will show, tulad sa Vietnam po, meron pong movie sila against the Vietnam government, sinensorship, tinanggal ho doon. So these are the question na napakahirap. Same to my bill, dadating a point na siyempre sasabihin nila, hindi kami covered dyan kasi ganito, international treaty. So mahihirapan po when the time comes ang PNP, ang NBI, a DOJ or PDEA to execute their function, no? And yan tingin ko ang magiging most crucial and functioning. Ngayon pa lang ho, itong mga platform is already lobbying against what I just mentioned to you in solidarity. Ayaw daw nila kasi nga platform lang kami. Wala kaming kinalaman naman kung yung buyer and seller masama or hindi nag-consummate yung transaction. So ngayon pa lang, we're already foreseeing already because there is no law regulating in our country, no presence of law.
Yeah, but I can imagine this conversation is also ongoing in other countries.
Yes.
Other countries are thinking of how to regulate exactly what you're trying to regulate. You think moving forward, there will need to be siguro an international agreement covering these types of transactions kasi ano siya, di ba?
Yes.
It transcends borders So
Yes.
kailangan siguro international. Is there any kind of initiative na gano'n na magiging international yung regulation ng mga ganyan?
Well, in Geneva, there's how they call it it's the part of the UN, no? But the body on e-commerce are already crafting this, and they have a series of conference already. I just forgot the name, ICAD or something. So they're already moving. And a lot of countries naman are in place na. The laws are in place. Japan, Singapore, even China, they have good models of laws, no, that are already in place. But yes, in our committee hearings, we invited DOJ, and a representative of DOJ, I remembered, spoke about the treaties na maaapakan natin. You're right in saying that this is transborder and stepping into a lot of international treaties. So one of the representatives of DOJ was good enough to share the input, especially on intellectual properties, no? So meron na kasing existing international laws dyan, yung halimbawa peking Louis Vuitton bag, Rolex watches, etc. There's already an existing laws. So this bill would respect those who has existing laws already. But in the other case, wala pa ho. But I am very sure, Amy, that one of these days magkakaroon ho because it's happening already in Geneva.
Okay. Congressman Wes Gatchalian talking about the Internet Transactions Bill. Congressman, maraming salamat po for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity then, Ed and Amy, and a pleasant evening to all your viewers.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yan, Ed.
Okay.
Malapit ka na magkaroon ng mga pagrereklamuhan mo. Sa mga...
But one thing that you can expect kasi once a vaccine is approved, for example, China has several candidate vaccines for COVID-19. Once a vaccine is approved from the Chinese side, you can expect a flood of products being sold online.
Yun ang tinatanong ko kanina kasi one of the companies started distributing na daw yung vaccine nila sa Chinese citizens lang, not the cure, the vaccine. So yun ang tinatanong ko kung nakarating na yun dito, yung vaccine na yun. So I guess hindi pa natin na monitor kasi unless someone complain. Saka yun na nga, sila yung gumagamit
Yeah. Pero you can expect it to be big money. I mean,
Yes.
and it's going to be big money for some people.
Yes, remember Pfizer is the maker of Viagra and there were a lot of fake Viagras that came out. Pagkatapos lumabas yung Viagra. So, yun, caution. Word of warning. Okay.
Okay. Okay, usapan natin for the weekend, di ba? Okay,
Ah.
so it's a weekend coming up. That's all for this weekend edition of the Chiefs. We hope what to discuss here will keep the conversation going. I'm Edwin Gao, One News.
I'm Mami Paminton of the Philippine Star and we are One News.